What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. I know some of you look at these headlines and titles and say, is he being sarcastic again? And to be fair, listen, if, and that's a giant if EA delivered on this, then we as a community should be happy that they've listened to some of our feedback. But the problem is, this is just words. Right? EA seldom showcases us visually what they've done and then allows us to fill in the blanks. So a gaming company like EA has historically oversold and underdelivered. And to me, there's a couple things here that make me feel like they finally are paying attention to details. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I want to go through some of the things they talk about. First of all, next level Gameday and Sidelines. Isn't next level inherent? Don't we expect that on a next-gen console? I love that they keep pushing the next level to us. New contextual player, bench, and fan reactions let you feel the explosive passion of the last-minute winner, which doesn't make a lot of sense, or game-clinching touchdown. Here's the thing. Any Madden gamer knows. One of Madden's biggest issues have been every game from preseason to playoff feels the same. The only way that you're really going to change the atmosphere is different commentators, different network overlays. It's more than just what they're saying here. Pre-game cinematics, which to me says cutscene. You won't be watching it in a short period of time. So that's one thing that does concern me. When they talk about in-game experiences, authentic, dense. How do you have a dense sideline? Like, just is it stacked with people in beautifully rendered crowds that you can interact with? We'll get along to that in just a moment. But your teammates who once sat on the sidelines now have more meaningful interactions during the game. EA, you've sold us this before. So we need to know just a little bit more than what you're giving us. But I do like to think that they are taking advantage of the hardware, where they say the improved hardware provided by next-generation consoles has allowed us to greatly increase the number of unique sideline entities while simultaneously adding levels of interactivity, authenticity, and reactivity never before showcased in Madden NFL. I would argue that it is actually in All Pro Football 2K8. So I don't know why you guys are just now taking this capability onto consoles currently when it was done a console generation ago. Players on the sidelines now have likeness, name, body type, and skin type, which means essentially what they're saying is you're going to see the real players there. Players will jump out of the way or move, and they are set up to watch and react to plays. That's kind of there now, but it was never, ever done correctly. And I think this goes back, and I might actually have to go back and look at some of the things EA has sold us before and try to get a better grasp on exactly how they've sold these sidelines, because to be honest, a lot of the verbiage here is the same. Improved head tracking, unit interactions for all characters in the player box without twinning, which basically means they would play the animations over and side by side, which was extremely irritating. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of this, when we look at it going onto a next-gen console, there has to be some embarrassment for EA to know that the game has gotten this far behind and still isn't meeting all our expectations. When you lead your next-gen presentation with Gameday and Sidelines, right, to me that shows that you already know you're really far behind. So as far as what they're saying here, number one, most of this should already be in the game with simply the coach. Can we agree that when you talk about all the things they do in interactivity, authenticity, reactivity, when they're saying that because the consoles inhibited Madden, the new power has increased the number of things we can do and the number of characters that can be impacted, that to me says, number one, the coaches currently in Madden should be doing everything as far as interacting with the play, the referees, the players, and that now this new console generation is strong enough to allow us to take what would have been perfected with the coaches across years and implement it to every player. But we've not seen that in Madden, and that's where a lot of people, including myself, are very, very concerned about the state of this game, because nothing ever gets perfected and then moves on. But to continue along, they also talk about next-gen player bodies, and this is something that I really question where this is actually headed towards. So you talk about all player bodies in next-gen Madden are brand new to accurately represent the various body types across the league. Now, you can go in and you can make a lot of finite changes in Madden right now. Calf width, calf size, arm size. As a matter of fact, Equipment Guru goes through and does all those things. So when they talk about this, that just says to me they put new layers onto this. But when you talk about details such as faces, hair, and uniforms, we've already seen thus far, based on the trailers, that that's not completely accurate. As far as the faces, you really can't see them when you play the game. The cutscenes, yes. But to me, the rest of this, in terms of lighting, EA historically has changed the lighting in their game from one year to the next. And I think if nothing else, sometimes they do that simply to make you appear visually that you're playing a different game. So again, we go back to blaming past generation hardware. With the higher processing power, we can visually represent the players' bodies to match their real-life counterparts. This goes against the grain of what just about every other sports title has been doing. Okay? I know you guys don't like the 2K comparisons, but NBA 2K was doing full body scans a long time ago. Why are they able to figure it out, but EA can't? Now, I realize in a sport where there isn't padding worn, it's a lot more meaningful to scan a whole body. But it just seems to me EA is far too quick to say, hey, we needed this. We needed this higher processing power. Now that we've got it, we're finally doing what you wanted us to do. And that just doesn't make sense, because we know, at least for right now, EA hasn't been doing face scans with their game. They've simply been setting up a camera to take, a multitude of pictures, and that's not to say that the players don't look fantastic. I think, if anything, we've learned from EA that you can get exceptional detail, a great level of realism, a beautiful product when it's not moving, based on what they're currently using to capture players' faces. But when I look at this, all of these things that we went over so far aren't so much showing us or telling us what EA's intentions have been. And this is also, just so you're aware, something that EA has been working on now. There's actually an article out from Clint. They have been working on this for years. So I've already seen some excuses in the comment section that, everybody's going through it this year. No. I will talk about it at length later on in the week. Clint actually says some in my opinion, very damaging things about the Madden franchise in going through what happened with them this year. But to do one thing here and say about the detail, you can see EA has paid attention to a lot of fine details. And this, to me, is the biggest thing, the most telling thing when we go through all of this, that they actually maybe started to pay attention to detail in ways they haven't before. So if you look at a limited number of stadiums you can celebrate with, before somebody says, why can't you celebrate at all? Let's be honest, at least for right now, part of keeping things unique, part of keeping things fresh, part of making the games feel different, is that different stadiums have different atmospheres. We all know about the dog pound. We all know about the crowd noise in Kansas City, okay? So we all know about the Lambeau Leap. There's a bunch of things here that you can go into. So the fact that they have one end zone celebration for Jacksonville, one for Las Vegas, that at least tells me they're kind of cognizant that you can't always have these things happen. Now, I would offer that anyone that's been to First Energy Stadium knows there's really only one side that the dog pound is on, so it's interesting to me that that wouldn't be limited to just one. But again, we'll see how this goes about. not all teams are known for fan celebrations. So the fact that they're kind of giving us a little bit of variety here, even though they're really not with MetLife Stadium, but, we'll see how they paper up the New York Jets. Anyone that's been to MetLife knows that for years they just put Jets paper, wallpaper up. But closing this out with, that's kind of a positive. I want to talk about what they say here because, again, we're going right back to it. The improved graphical power of next-gen consoles can render 10 times more. I'm so tired, and there was other times it was mentioned here and I didn't pick up on it. I'm so tired of EA multiplying things for us. We can render 10 times more particles now. So now you're going to have snow and rain specifically on helmets and jerseys. Let me tell you a little behind the scenes. I actually had, at one point, a good relationship with EA developers. And if you go back to, I think, Madden 25, and you zoom in on the faces during a game at Lucas Oil Stadium, you'll see black specks all over their face. I reached out to one of the developers. I said, why does this happen? It can't be representative of the turf bits, the rubber bits that come off the field. To which they responded, it absolutely is. And I said, of all the games I've seen played at Lucas Oil, I can't really think of a time where a player's face had those rubber pellet bits on it. That was at one point the level of detail they were going after. So to say that at one point they were doing that, and then now hear them say rain, snow isn't impacting jerseys the way we wanted it to. Right? When they talk about sideline floors, we assume they're talking about things like puddles. But to me, and again, I hate to go backwards, we have to ask ourselves, how was All Pro Football 2K8 having rain affect uniforms and specifically hit helmets the way that it did, which if you've never watched is absolutely stunning. I think the rain engine in 2K may be better than like the simulation of EA. But to me, it's very interesting that we go right back to where we were before, where, they're essentially blaming consoles. They're saying, hey, listen, we couldn't have standing water. We couldn't have rain-drenched sidelines. We couldn't have cold winter snow, whatever the heck that means. But now that we have these new consoles, you're going to get this enhanced experience. This isn't so much them building upon and making a better game. This is basically them just saying, hey, listen, we got more power and we did more things. And again, when we go back and we talk about expectation, to me, that expectation has always been there. And to close this out, the fact that they're even bringing up the controller, guys, and this goes for all gaming companies, don't sell me a controller, okay? Don't tell me what the controller is going to do. Right, the controller doesn't have a rich and responsive atmosphere to it, okay? I'm not going to sense every catch, tackle, kick with a new controller. I realize PlayStation may have made advancements in the DualSense controllers and the shock of the controllers and the vibration of the controllers, but I personally don't feel like it's added that much to the gameplay experience where it needs to be sold to us by any gaming company. So, with that said, to go back to the beginning, there's some very good things here. There's some very promising things here. But we need promises that are kept by EA. We need more than just, because the console gave us more power, we can now increase what we're doing. We need things completely rebuilt. We need things completely redone. If not, you're never going to satisfy the pure football gamer because you're simply just improving upon what's broken. And that's not what any of us want. And that really shouldn't be what they want. The fact that they sat down and looked at a ton of broken aspects from their game and said, well, now, with the new power of this console, we can render something that's broken 10 times more, should not have been the conversation. It should have been, how can we rebuild this? How can we re-engineer this? What can we go and implement to make this completely better? This is the analogy of polishing a turd that so many people talk about with this game, and this is how we get there. You're not rebuilding broken systems, you're just reinvigorating them. That's not what anyone wants, and that shouldn't be what EA wants either. Love to know your thoughts on this. Appreciate you checking out. I will be back in the week with more commentary.